The snowstorm outside raged like it had a personal vendetta against the world, plastering the windows of my weather-worn duplex with icy fury. It was December 20th, 5 days before Christmas, but there wasn't an ounce of holiday cheer in my tired bones. I slumped at the kitchen table, a half-flat beer in hand, my knuckles raw from wrestling with a seized brake line on my battered pickup earlier that day. The space heater wheezed in the corner, barely cutting through the biting chill that seeped through the thin walls. My breath fogged faintly in the dim light as I stared blankly at the stack of overdue notices scattered across the table. Olivia, my 9-year-old daughter, and Mark, my 7-year-old son, were sprawled on the living room floor, taping paper ornaments to a spindly $15 Christmas tree I'd haggled for at the gas station lot. Their laughter was strained, their makeshift decorations fragile, just like everything else in our lives. They deserved better than this. They deserved warmth, stability, a real Christmas. But instead, they were here, scraping by in a drafty apartment while I poured every penny I earned into keeping someone else's life afloat. For years, I'd been the silent backbone of my family. This year alone, I'd sent $22,000 to my mother, money for the mortgage, Dad's truck loan, groceries, utilities, vacations, even Deborah's failed flower shop debacle. Every paycheck I earned as a truck driver disappeared into their pockets before I could even catch my breath. 18-hour hauls through blizzards, surviving on gas station sandwiches, sleeping in my cab with the heat off to save fuel, it was all worth it, I told myself, if it meant giving my kids a shot at something better. But tonight, as I stumbled in from yet another grueling shift hauling lumber through whiteout conditions, my boots leaving muddy streaks by the door, I felt the weight of it all pressing down on me. My shoulders ached not just from the physical load but from the emotional toll of carrying a family that never seemed to appreciate what I sacrificed. I looked at Olivia and Mark, their little hands trembling as they taped a crumpled paper star to the tree. Guilt twisted in my gut. What kind of father was I, letting them grow up like this? And then my phone buzzed hard on the table, rattling the stack of overdue bills. Mom's name blinked on the screen. I figured she needed cash for another emergency, a new gravy boat or some last-minute gift for Deborah's spoiled twins. I hit speaker, leaning back in my chair, ready for the usual shakedown. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. The phone buzzed again, its sharp vibration rattling across the table like an accusation. My mom's name blinked coldly on the screen, and I felt my stomach tighten as if it had been punched. I hit speaker, leaning back in my chair, bracing myself for whatever demand she was about to make this time. But nothing could have prepared me for what came out of her mouth next. "Bruce," she started, her tone clipped and frostier than the snowstorm battering the windows outside. "Christmas dinner is cancelled for you this year." I froze, my hand gripping the beer can so tightly that the metal groaned under the pressure. "What do you mean, cancelled?" I asked, my voice low, dangerous. "We're keeping it small, just Deborah and her family. They need a calm environment. Your kids are too rowdy, too rough around the edges. It's smoother without them." Her words hit me like a jackknifed semi on an icy highway, heavy, jagged, and completely devastating. Rowdy? Rough around the edges? These were my kids we were talking about, Olivia, who helped her little brother with his homework every night, and Mark, who still believed in Santa Claus despite being 7 years old. "You're kicking me and my kids out of Christmas dinner, for Deborah?" I growled, my voice rising with each syllable. "Yes," Mom snapped, her tone smug and dismissive, like she was tossing out junk mail instead of shattering my trust. "Deborah's twins are sensitive. Yours are tough little buggers, they'll survive one night without us. We'll catch up later, maybe." The line went dead before I could respond, but the damage was done. My chest heaved as adrenaline surged through me, and I slammed the dented beer can onto the table, foam spilling over the chipped surface. Olivia's tape roll thudded to the floor, her paper star crumbling in her hands. Mark's lip trembled, his wide eyes darting between me and the phone. "What the hell is this?" I roared, pacing the cramped kitchen, my boots stomping against the sticky linoleum. "Rowdy, tough little buggers. After everything I've done for them." The heater sputtered weakly in the corner, as if even it couldn't handle the tension filling the room. Olivia shrank into the couch, clutching Mark's arm, while his paper snowflake tore apart in his trembling hands. Their silence sliced through me like a knife. I'd failed them. Failed to protect them from the very people who were supposed to love them. I stopped pacing, my fists clenched at my sides. $22,000 this year alone. I shouted, my voice echoing off the peeling walls. Vacations, groceries, your damn car loan, the mortgage, Deborah's flop of a flower shop, every single hotel dinner when you're too lazy to cook, and now you're ditching us for her? No response came from the phone or the kids. Just the faint hum of the space heater struggling against the biting cold seeping through the walls. That phrase, tough little buggers, kept replaying in my head, fueling the rage bubbling inside me. For years, I'd swallowed their demands, ignored their passive-aggressive comments, and poured every penny I earned into keeping their lives comfortable. And this was how they repaid me? By calling my kids unruly and tossing us aside like trash? I stormed to the cluttered counter where my laptop sat, flipping it open with a loud crack. The screen flickered to life, and I logged into the bank account tied to their mortgage, the same account I'd co-signed years ago when Dad fumbled the login and Mom purred, "You're our rock, Bruce." There it was, $22,000 gone this year alone. $7,000 on vacation hotels, gas, park tickets. $5,000 on groceries and utilities. $2,800 on Dad's truck. $6,200 on the mortgage. $1,000 bailing out Deborah's failed flower shop. Pocket money for her spoiled brats. Hotel tabs. All funded by my cracked hands, sleepless nights in the cab, and meals skipped to save cash. I scrolled to the mortgage payment, $1,400 due January 1st, set to autopay from my account. I clicked cancel autopay. Then the truck loan, $400 a month. Gone. Payment stop confirmation popped up twice, sealing their fate. By the time they realized what had happened, the heat would die, and the truck would quit right after their smug Christmas high crashed. A dark grin split my face as I leaned back, imagining Deborah's sensitive twins shivering in a freezing house and Dad stranded without his precious vehicle. But when I turned back to the living room, Olivia and Mark were staring at me, their little faces pale and uncertain. I dropped to my knees, pulling them close. "You're perfect," I whispered, my voice steady despite the wildfire raging inside me. "They're the ones messed up. We'll have our own Christmas, way better. I swear." As I hugged them, my mind raced ahead, picturing the chaos that would unfold once my family realized what I'd done. Let them feel the cold. Let them scramble. This was their choice, not mine. By December 26th, the storm had turned their lives into a frozen nightmare. My phone buzzed relentlessly as I shoveled snow from the driveway, the cold biting through my gloves. Mom's texts came first, frantic and accusatory. "Bruce, it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit inside. What did you do?" Then Dad's voicemail stacked up, his voice rough with panic. "The furnace is off, Bruce. Fix it now." And Deborah's messages were venomous. "You're screwing us. It's freezing, you bastard." I smirked, tossing another scoop of snow aside as Mark lobbed a snowball at Olivia behind me. Their laughter echoed through the crisp air while chaos unraveled in their house. I pictured Mom fussing over a cold roast, Dad pacing by the dead furnace, and Deborah wrapping her spoiled twins in blankets I'd once paid for, all of them shivering in the gloom. By noon, the temperature in their house had dropped to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Calls poured in like a war zone, 20 missed calls from Mom, 15 from Dad, and Deborah's desperate cries, "My kids are sick, Bruce. They can't breathe." But inside our duplex, warmth radiated from the space heater, and the faint smell of frying ham filled the kitchen. Olivia giggled as she swiped my last card during a game of Go Fish, oblivious to the storm brewing outside our walls. Their panic was just a distant hum against the cozy bubble I'd built for my kids. That night, the storm kicked into overdrive, howling like it was out for blood. My phone lit up again, Mom screaming about the dropping temperature, Dad demanding answers, and Deborah sobbing hysterically. "It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit, Bruce. My twins are coughing nonstop. You're killing us." I leaned back on the couch, handing Olivia a plate of sliders made from clearance rack ham scraps. The sizzle of the stove drowned out their pleas as we laughed at Buddy's antics in Elf, the DVD skipping slightly but still holding together. By January 2nd, their house hit 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Pipes froze, walls iced over, and Deborah's sensitive twins were rushed to a clinic. Still, I didn't flinch. Fred called me that evening, wheezing with laughter. "Bro, they're a train wreck. Deborah's posting sob stories online, Mom's begging neighbors for heaters, and Dad's truck got towed. What did you do?" I grinned, stacking firewood outside. "Cancelled the mortgage and truck loan after they ditched me and the kids for Deborah." Fred hooted. "Savage. House hit 30 degrees Fahrenheit last night. Deborah's twins are hacking up a lung, and Dad's stranded without his truck. Sharks circling them too. You nuked them." But even as their world crumbled, I felt no pity. They chose this, not me. Then, on January 7th, an unexpected twist shattered the icy silence. A sharp knock rattled the door late at night. I opened it to find Deborah, no coat, hair disheveled, shivering violently. Her usual swagger was gone, replaced by desperation. "Bruce," she croaked, tears freezing on her face. "I have to tell you the truth." Deborah stood shivering on my doorstep, her face pale and hollow, her usual confidence shattered like a cracked mirror. Snowflakes clung to her disheveled hair, melting into icy rivulets that streaked down her cheeks. She looked smaller somehow, frail, broken. I gripped the radiator wrench tighter in my hand, my knuckles white with tension. "Spill it," I growled, my voice low and dangerous, cutting through the howling wind. She hugged herself tightly, her teeth chattering as much from fear as from the cold. "Mom and Dad, they've been lying to you. All of it, the flower shop, the money, it was never real." Her voice cracked, tears freezing halfway down her face. "What do you mean, never real?" My words came out sharp, slicing through the icy air between us. The flower shop wasn't mine. It was theirs, a front for their scam. They forged checks, borrowed cash from some shady loan shark to fund their lifestyle. When things got messy, they pinned it all on me. Told everyone it was my failure so they could keep living large while you bailed them out. The wrench slipped from my fingers, clanging loudly against the floor as her words hit me like a runaway truck. My chest tightened, each breath burning like fire. Every emergency withdrawal, every vague excuse, every dollar I'd bled over the years, it had all been a lie. A carefully constructed web of deceit designed to siphon my hard-earned money into their pockets. "You let me carry this?" I spat, my voice rising with fury. "You let me bleed myself dry for your lies? For $22,000 this year alone?" I didn't have a choice. Deborah cried, her voice breaking. "They threatened to cut me off too if I didn't play along. They promised I'd get half the house when they cashed out. But now it's falling apart. The twins are sick, I'm broke, and the sharks, they're circling. Mom and Dad are drowning, Bruce. And you." She hesitated, choking back sobs. "You were just another pawn in their game." Her admission felt like a knife twisting deeper into an already gaping wound. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. "So what? You thought I'd forgive you? That I'd step in again after everything?" "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the wind. "I came here because you deserve to know the truth. Even if it doesn't fix anything." "Fix anything?" My laugh was bitter, raw, an ugly sound that echoed into the night. "You think telling me this fixes anything? You and them, you're all parasites. Leeching off me, ruining my kids' lives, and then tossing us aside like trash when it suits you." "Bruce, please, get out," I snarled, cutting her off. "All of you. I'm done cleaning up your messes. Done paying for your sins. Tell the shark to come see me while you're at it. I'll make sure he knows exactly who's responsible." Deborah flinched, stepping back as though struck. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. Not anymore. The woman standing before me wasn't my sister, not really. She was complicit in their betrayal, just another cog in their toxic machine. "Please," she begged one last time, her voice trembling. "I didn't know they'd treat you like this. I swear." But her words fell flat, swallowed by the storm raging around us. I slammed the door shut, the lock clicking with finality. Through the frosted glass, I watched her shadow fade into the swirling snow, disappearing like a ghost. As the adrenaline faded, leaving behind a hollow ache, I leaned against the wall, my mind racing. Every memory of their excuses, their demands, their smug faces, it all came rushing back, tainted now by the knowledge that none of it had been real. The vacations, the groceries, the mortgage payments, all of it had gone toward sustaining their greed, their lies. And my kids. My sweet Olivia and Mark, who deserved better than hand-me-downs and clearance rack dinners, they'd suffered because of it. Because I'd chosen to believe them. Chosen to trust that family meant something more than this. The radiator hissed softly behind me, its warmth doing little to thaw the ice spreading through my veins. I exhaled sharply, steam puffing into the frigid air. Outside, the storm raged on, mirroring the chaos inside me. For years, I'd carried them, shielded them, sacrificed for them. And now? Now I was done. Whatever happened next, they would face it alone. By mid-January, the storm had passed, but its aftermath left a trail of devastation that no amount of sunshine could thaw. My phone buzzed incessantly with updates from Fred, who seemed to relish every twist in their downfall. "Bro, it's a wreck out here," he said one evening, his voice cracking with barely contained glee. "The bank foreclosed on the house last week. Dad's pawning tools, Mom's begging neighbors for cash, and Deborah? Her twins are still in the clinic. Guess they didn't take well to frostbite." I listened silently, stirring a pot of soup on the stove while Olivia and Mark built a Lego fortress in the living room. Their laughter drifted into the kitchen, a stark contrast to the chaos unraveling just miles away. Deborah had posted everything online, a desperate attempt to salvage her crumbling reputation. She spilled the truth about the forged checks, the loan shark, and how my parents had used me as their personal ATM to cover their tracks. The post went viral within hours, dragging our family name through the mud. Strangers began showing up at their door, hurling insults or snapping photos of the once proud house now plastered with foreclosure notices. But the real terror came when the loan shark circled back. I heard about it through Fred, who overheard Mom crying to a cousin on the phone. He's threatening them, Bruce, Fred told me later. Says if they don't pay up soon, he'll make an example out of them. They're scared stiff. Still, I felt nothing, no pity, no guilt. Just a cold satisfaction that justice was finally catching up to them. Then, one bitter February morning, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Dad standing on the porch, his shoulders slumped under the weight of defeat. Snow dusted his coat, and a pawn ticket trembled in his gloved hand. His face was gaunt, eyes hollow, like a man drowning in regret. "Bruce," he rasped, his voice breaking. "We screwed up. All of it, the scam, the forged checks, borrowing from the shark, it got out of hand. We hid it behind Deborah, drained you to keep it quiet. But now, the house is gone, the truck's gone. He's coming for us." His desperation clawed at the air, but I remained unmoved. Years of betrayal hardened my heart against their pleas. "You chose Deborah," I said, my voice steady and icy. "You kicked me and my kids out of Christmas dinner, called us too rowdy, too rough around the edges. Now deal with the consequences." "But we're sorry," he pleaded, his voice rising with panic. "Deborah's out, we're broke, he'll break our legs, Bruce. Please." I cut him off, shutting the door before he could say another word. His fist pounded weakly against the wood, but I ignored it, turning back to the kitchen where the smell of grilled cheese filled the air. That night, I sat by the fire pit in the backyard, watching Olivia and Mark roast marshmallows. Their giggles lit up the darkness, a reminder of what truly mattered. In the distance, I imagined my parents' world collapsing further, their lies festering like an open wound, their lives spiraling into ruin. And yet, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I was free. By late February, the snow had begun to melt, revealing patches of brown grass and muddy paths. The world felt lighter somehow, as if the weight of winter was finally lifting, not just outside, but inside me too. I stood in the backyard, watching Olivia and Mark chase each other around the fire pit, their laughter echoing into the crisp air. It wasn't much, just a small space heater humming softly on the porch, paper chains strung across the living room, and a second-hand tree still standing proudly despite its missing lights, but it was ours. For the first time in years, Christmas belonged to us alone. That morning, I'd made pancakes from a mix I found at the dollar store, stretching it with an extra egg so there'd be enough for seconds. Olivia grinned as she poured syrup in zigzag lines over her stack, while Mark dumped half a jar of sprinkles on his plate like it was confetti. "Dad," Olivia said between bites, "this is the best Christmas ever." I smiled, though my chest tightened at the memory of what we'd left behind. "It's not about how much you spend or where you go," I told them, leaning back in my chair. "It's about who you're with, and knowing your worth." Mark tilted his head, his face smeared with syrup. "What's worth mean?" "It means no one gets to treat you like you don't matter," I explained, my voice steady. "Not even family. Sometimes, people will take until there's nothing left unless you say stop. And that's okay. You can love someone and still set boundaries." Olivia nodded solemnly, her eyes wide. "Like when Grandma said we were too loud?" "Exactly," I replied, my jaw tightening briefly before I softened again. "But guess what? We didn't need her fancy dinners or big house to have fun, did we?" "Nope," Mark shouted, throwing his hands up triumphantly. "We had cookies and movies and fort building. And each other," I added, ruffling his hair. Later that evening, after the kids were tucked into bed, I stepped outside to sit by the fire pit. The flames danced against the dark sky, casting flickering shadows on the ground. In the distance, I imagined my parents' lives unraveling further, their home foreclosed, their truck repossessed, the lone shark breathing down their necks. But tonight, none of that touched me. Instead, I thought about the lessons I wanted Olivia and Mark to carry with them, that kindness doesn't mean letting others walk all over you, that family isn't defined by blood but by love and respect, and that sometimes, saying no is the bravest thing you can do. The wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of melting snow. I leaned back, letting the warmth of the fire seep into my bones. Behind me, through the window, I could see the glow of the living room lights, the remnants of our makeshift Christmas still decorating the walls. For years, I'd carried the weight of their expectations, believing I owed them everything. But now, sitting here under the stars, I realized I owed them nothing, not anymore. They had chosen their path, just as I had chosen mine. And my path led straight to Olivia and Mark, two little souls who deserved every ounce of love and stability I could give them. As the fire crackled softly, I closed my eyes, listening to the quiet hum of peace settling over our home. No more guilt. No more resentment. Just the simple joy of being present, for myself, for my kids, for the life we were building together. When I opened my eyes, I caught sight of Olivia's paper star taped crookedly to the window. It wobbled slightly in the breeze, fragile yet enduring, much like us. I smiled, feeling something I hadn't in years, contentment.